Good evening, everyone. I'd like to have a good week today. I'd like to extend a little on the reflection I made on the gospel of the day. It's very suggestive, a passage in which Jesus speaks of the need for us to live detachment in order to live discipleship. He speaks very directly. It's not about that. I'll even take the text here, which is an excerpt from Luke, taken from the Gospel of Luke, in which he says, "If anyone comes to me and does not detach himself from his father and mother, his wife and children, his brothers and sisters, and even from his own life, he cannot be mine," he said. "Whoever does not carry his cross and walk behind me," he said. "It cannot be," he said. "For which of you, wanting to build a tower, does not first sit down and calculate the cost, to see if he has enough to finish it? If not, he will lay the foundation and not be able to finish. And all who live who see it will begin to mock him, saying, 'This man began to build a tower, did not was able to consult to finish.' Or again, what king is there who, when going out to war with another, does not sit down first? Examine well if with 10,000 men he can face the other who marches against him with 20,000. If he sees that he cannot, while the other king is away, he sends messengers to negotiate terms of peace. In the same way, therefore, any of you, if you do not renounce all that you have, cannot be mine," he said. This is the word of our salvation. I know that the culture of detachment is not part of our lives. In fact, we Westerners have an almost completely opposite movement, don't we? We understand that from a very young age, we were educated to achieve, to accumulate, to conquer, and we are hardly ever prepared for loss. It's as if we deny a dimension of the human condition that cannot be overcome, a dimension that is part of it all the time, isn't it? We are here in this moment. We are living. It is a process of gain. I am gaining a lot today. I am gaining experience. I am gaining knowledge. I am gaining the life that is here around me, the people who surround me, but at the same time, on the opposite side of all this, there is a process of loss that we cannot deny, right? It's an experience. It's part of and inherent to my process. But I can't deactivate it here just for us. Then I'll open it up so we can talk and exchange ideas. But it's an inherent process that I can't avoid. Today, I'm also ceasing to be who I was. I'm taking on a new guise of myself. Yes, as time passes, I experience losing vitality. Of course, during a period of our lives, we don't even notice these losses, right? We'll notice this as time passes, and we'll feel the weaknesses that time brings. Of course, we accumulate other things too, but we'll necessarily go through a process of decay. It's a very strong word, right? But we'll decline in our abilities. We'll no longer have them. The same vision? We'll lose our balance. Of course, there are ways for us to delay these losses as much as possible, right? But the fact is that it's inherent to the human process. Or stop being. But we seem not. We know, but we are not very aware of it in our daily lives. It is Jesus' request in today's gospel that we need to let go. It is very interesting because the gospel from beginning to end, you will always have a posture of Jesus, motivating the search for that which in us does not pass, that which we can be perennial, that which in us continues. It is letting go. Within Christianity, it is essential to live detached. It is an existential proposal, very difficult to be yours. What are we accustomed to attachment? When a person arrives, comes into our lives, we immediately like them. It is very natural that we become attached to them. When you bring a child into the world, you become attached to the child you brought. I don't know if human life is possible outside of experience, of attachment. I don't know if anyone, the more spiritually evolved you are, be able to understand the death of a loved one. For example, as something natural, we learn this hard, painful way of losing because when we love, the first movement, our love, is an appeal. There is an almost disordered question. Yesterday, when celebrating a mass there, celebrating 50 years of the Unifenas institution. I was talking about this. What did we take from this gospel, which talked about how difficult it is in the process of being a father and mother, how difficult it is to identify the face of the love that we need to offer our children, the shape of the love that we need to give to the child that we brought some. Because if we do not take care, if we do not have wisdom in dealing with this love, we will love with excessive protection, which is absolutely healthy in the early stages. When you bring a child into the world, is it your love? It needs to be manifested for it. The more spiritually evolved you are, the more capable you are of understanding the death of a loved one, for example, as something natural. We learn from the state of grief. It's painful to lose because when we love, the first movement, our love, is an appeal, so an almost disordered attachment. Yesterday, on the occasion of celebrating a mission, and that's it, celebrating 50 years of the Unifenas institution, I spoke about this because we received this gospel. I spoke here about how difficult it is in the process of being a father and a mother, how difficult it is to identify the face of the love we need to offer our children, the shape of the love we need to give to the child we brought one. Because if we don't care, if we don't have wisdom in dealing with this love, we will love with excessive protection, which is absolutely healthy in the early stages. When you bring a child into the world, is your love? For it needs to manifest itself in a very radical way. You surround that human being with all possible care, imaginable, because do you know that there's a poverty there? Radical, absolute, the early stages of our life. They are marked by total poverty. I'm not able to leave my crib and seek food in my own way, a blanket for my cold, water for my thirst. Someone has to do it. I'm surrounded by people who help me in this poverty and love me in a very protective way. Now, as time goes by, as we grow and assume some autonomy, it's natural that those who love us encourage us to leave the comfort of receiving everything, right? Imagine if one day those who educated us and loved us in these early stages of life, they don't motivate us without leaving ourselves. But maybe today we would be emotionally ill. And nothing says, right? Incapable? Yes. Driven by the insecurities that overprotection provokes in us. Overprotection is very natural in loving relationships. We have a tendency to overprotect the people we love. And oddly enough, I know that sometimes we cover this with romanticism, don't we? It will come. We have a very positive view of overprotection. But depending on the stage of life, it can be contrary to the act of loving itself. Because there will come a time in the process of raising someone, a son, a daughter, that you almost need to protect, to expose them to the process of growth. And it's crazy because there is detachment. I need to detach myself in a way I understood my fatherhood and motherhood. I need to love. Of course, it's my responsibility. Because from biological obligation arises a responsibility. And then there are other loves that have no biological responsibility, but are the result of our voluntariness, the exercise of will. I choose to love, I want to, but there's a need to let go of old ways. I know many of us have been terribly hurt by people who loved us deeply and loved us so much that they tell us they protected us at the wrong time. Or did they fail to protect us? To unprotect us at the right time? So that we could create autonomy, so that we could find our own strengths. It's like muscle training. Training, when conducted intelligently, recruits all the muscles in the area you work. Conventional exercise may only recruit a few. An exercise designed for a period, a second, right? With periodicity, you will exercise. You will try to exercise all of them. Then you gain strength. You gain volume. You become a more resilient person. Emotionally, it's the same thing. When we were encouraged to do the right training, we develop autonomy. And this autonomy is largely responsible for us becoming capable of taking on life and the responsibilities that arise naturally from being who we are. But if the person responsible for love doesn't attach themselves to the right extent, it's not because they have detachment. They have different demands. For example, I was very attached to my mother, my father, and my brothers. But when I entered the seminary, I had to live a bit of what Jesus told me. At first, there was a physical separation. I didn't live in the same house as my brothers and my parents. That was terrible. You have no idea what that's like. In the mind of a 16-year-old boy, which was when I entered, it was extremely painful to go from living in a room with my brothers, who I had, right, as my reference, my world, to living in a dormitory with 60 boys my age, It was as much as we tried to transform it into a family. It was difficult for me. I was used to that family nucleus, and suddenly I was no longer there. I needed to let go. I needed to reconfigure my concept of family. I needed to reconfigure my concept of home, and I needed to transform. The seminar in my house. Yeah, I found it interesting that the Mauricio painting that was my age, it was as much as we tried to make a family. It was difficult for me. I was used to that family nucleus, and suddenly I wasn't there anymore. I needed to let go. I needed to reconfigure my concept of family. I needed to reconfigure my concept of home, and I needed to transform. The seminary in my home. Yes, I found it interesting that Father Mauricio, who was my first rector, Mauricio Leao, he is a wise man, a man I would like to have around like that to always listen. I remember that he would start to correct our language when we went on vacation to our parents' house, and we had the habit of saying, "I'm going home," to spend the holidays at home. He advised us to try to change that language. Say you're going to your parents' house, so you can begin to internalize that this is your new home. So, when do I go to my father's or mother's house? I tend to say I'm going home, but not just for pedagogical reasons. To practice the rule of detachment, I start saying, I'm going to my father's or mother's house, because now my home is different. It's the same when you get married. Do you stop saying, I'm going home, I'm going to have lunch at your house? No, you'll say, I'm going to have lunch with my parents today at their house. Your house is different. You're building a family. Did you need to detach yourself from that physical space that until then had been your place of identification? It may seem silly, but it is. This is how we live detachment. I remember that later, as time went by. I needed to rediscover other ways of living detachment, which is perhaps more difficult, which is emotional detachment. When we live in the same house, when you breathe the same problems all the time, you end up living in a conceptual confusion. That is to think that the other person's problem is also yours. We were educated to think this way, and I agree that the other person's problem is somehow mine too. But there has to be a differentiation, because you are pretentious. Sometimes I can't even handle my own problems. How am I going to handle the other person's problem along with mine? And I also run the risk of making someone else's problem entirely mine. They give up on that problem and end up judging it on me. So I need to let go, which is an intelligent way of seeing and thinking. They have a problem, but they are primarily responsible for the problem they have. It's not fair that I, in exercising my autonomy, also having problems and needing to take care of them, I have to misunderstand that their problem is entirely mine, right? I participate in their problem, but their problem is theirs, just as my problem is not theirs. And from time to time, the closeness, the bond of love and respect that exists between us will make me carry their cross a little more than they do in moments of weakness, in moments of debility, this exercise of love. But it can't be all the time, right? And beginning to understand this was very difficult for me, because it's interesting, my friends. We don't realize it, but we have a lot of pretension inside us. Sometimes we have that pretension that we are capable of anything. It's not quite like that. And what keeps denying us is life. I think you're seeing that you are capable of a lot of things. I am capable of many things. But I am also not capable of many things. And there is no problem in admitting that. The weakness is in me. The weakness is in you. So I let go of the pretense that I could do everything, including solving other people's problems, right? No. And how difficult it was. I remember that in my personal experience, my people, it was extremely painful. It was to recognize that. The other day I opened a box, which was something that my mother kept for a long time, and it was so painful to open that box. Because in that box it is even here, I look at it, and I don't have the courage to touch it. In that letter R, in that box are the many letters I wrote throughout my life. To my mother, to my brothers, to my sisters. I don't know why all that material stayed with her. I think because they all lived in the same house, right? And then she. The letters were alive, and someone decided to keep them, and she left me this. I know that when I read some of these letters, I understood. One thing I heard from Father Wilson, who is now Vilson, who is now is a bishop there in Santa Catarina. It's not the following. And what is it? He was a very important man in my life because he made me. Maybe he doesn't even know it. Maybe he never had the opportunity to say this. Is he a psychologist? Informed isn't a line. Of psychology. Very focused on religious life. Priestly life. I was a seminarian there in Brusque. I studied philosophy, and he made me understand this. I had a very close connection. I wanted to. And what is that? He was a very important man in my life because he made me. Maybe he doesn't even know it. Maybe she never had the opportunity to tell him. He's a psychologist with a degree in psychology, very focused on religious life, priestly life. I was a seminarian in Brusque, studying philosophy, and he made me understand this. I had a very unhealthy connection with my sister, Tsida, who passed away because all of Tsida's programs were much more mine than hers. I took on so many of her problems that I couldn't be happy. I think you've heard of this, right? I have a natural melancholy. I've never been a very good person. I provided a lot of things. Everything that's extroverted in me comes out. It was a result of effort. I'm not naturally like that. I'm shy. I'm the kind of person who, when I arrived at places, would tremble to say a first word. I've always been like that. Anyone who knew me when I was little knows I'm not making this up. Yeah, it was a seminar that told me to inhibit life, putting me in the right place with the right people. And me, always very melancholic. I had suicidal tendencies at many stages of my life, especially my adolescence. And when I met Wilson, I was still Wilson, and I say this because I saw it. I had these suicidal tendencies. I was very melancholic, and without our knowing too much, so I didn't see it. I always had that look for this dream all the time, and I always saw the sad side of things. And I knew it was a detail of my personality. Never. I fought against it. On the contrary, it's not what brought me to poetry. I was a teenager. I already liked to write. I already liked to compose. I liked to sing. And I knew that I hosted art. That art has a deficit. It's a problem. I say, who has the art? In itself, there's a manufacturing defect. See if it's a language, right? Just to say that we carry this with great sacrifice. It's very painful. The melancholy was very painful, and Dom Wilson was very Wilson. Wilson. Excuse me for changing names all the time. He was very precise in identifying this. He said, it's true that it's typical of your personality and melancholy, but your family remembers this. They still have a lot of influence over you. And isn't that what love is? Love is you knowing how to differentiate what is mine, what is the other's. And I say again, at some moments in our lives, we carry the other's cross more than they do. But it's only once in a while. It can't be. It's not fair. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to another. When do you realize that the other's cross? Completely taking on the course. I remember knowing people and reading some of those letters that stayed with my mother. My God, how is this true? How did I not have time to resolve my issues? I ended up taking on too much. What was hers? And I was left with almost no time to resolve my issues. And it was very difficult to let go of that, because I thought that giving up on bearing so much of her suffering would be a way of not loving her. It's not. No, they are the pieces at AA. Our mind keeps playing tricks on us, right? Because I haven't even learned something, almost ISA. I always repeat this. Not everything we feel is true. We can't completely trust our feelings if we need to take them to court. Take the feeling to court and act out exactly what you did in court. Accuse, defend, for you to reach an understanding. If those feelings are happening, is it true? If it really has a connection with reality? Or if it's a result of the lies your mind tells you, often driven by your guilt complex that we assume at some point in life? A feeling of guilt is a wound in our spirit, in our brain. No, not physically. I'm using a metaphor. It's a wound in the mind. And when I'm ruled by this wound, I never feel worthy of anything. That's how I felt. The more I recognize the gifts I had been given. I've always had good friends. I've always been surrounded by people who love me. Once upon a time, Father Joazinho made this distinction. I think he was absolutely right, and Fabio is very easily loved. It's his personality. He inspires love. Where does he go? He finds it easy to be loved. He needs to learn to love, because sometimes those who are much loved have difficulty loving. And he's right. I've always been very loved by my friends. I've always had very loyal friends. I've always had people who would give their lives for me. I do. I can't complain. But there was always that sadness that didn't allow me to enjoy the status quo I enjoyed, the one I had achieved. Then there's this guilt complex that often makes us feel irresponsible when we let go of the other person. Say, I'll continue to love you, but I love you from a certain distance. Unfortunately, I'll have to reduce our meetings. I'll have to reduce the number of times we meet at a certain distance. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to reduce our meetings. I'm going to have to reduce our outings. When he said that, of course he didn't say it that way, right? He just said it like this. I write less. No less. Maybe she'll wake up. Really, I love you so much. Of course, the guilt always remains. After she died, that's why she stopped being here, in the same place as me. The guilt always occurs to me. I believe you who are with me now, who have lived through different situations. You know, it's not when someone leaves our lives definitively, unchangeable. It's amazing how we find reasons to blame ourselves. It's amazing how cruel we are in dealing with our feelings. How much did you love that person when they die? You had 1,000 reasons to be happy, to remember with joy. You'll remember that day you did that it was horrible, that you did it. I don't know. How is our process? It's mental. It makes us so imprisoned in, impressive. Maybe it's because we were raised within very romantic models. And what I find interesting is that there is no romanticism in Jesus. It's harsh. His word is harsh. When he says, for example, in another passage, right? I didn't come to bring peace. I came to bring division. That may seem contradictory, right? It's just that sometimes some situations need to go through the hard process of confrontation. Then peace is built. Well, I can very well think of Jesus as the one who brings peace in a magical way, right? How can peace be resolved in Ukraine with Russia? By talking, by negotiating. There's no way an angel from heaven could come down and get there, convince the putsch of this here. The president of Ukraine, no, that's not how it works. The results we want need to be built. Who doesn't build what they want to achieve? I don't even have the right to hope to achieve. So when Jesus says he came to bring the sword, he says, I came to bring it. I came to teach you that peace is the result of negotiation. Within our homes, we are not accustomed to negotiation and confrontation. We are used to yelling at each other when you get carried away. You've already put up with everything and are completely out of line. Then you yell at each other, beggarly, and talk nonsense. You even say things you wouldn't like, even things you don't believe. Why? Because we are not used to confronting. What is it? Detachment. It's that experience you will have of dividing the roles. Say I had it. There is no romanticism in Jesus. What does he want from us? They are attitudes, intelligent, reflective attitudes, that make us understand our human process. People, we are not angels, even though some preachers, yes, they like this angelic discourse, and I'm transforming the gospel into something we listen to, hear, even find beautiful, but said, but that has nothing to do with me. How many times have I heard sermons like this? Me, one day, the day God made sense to me, that he involved me with all my ambience was UPA. This what this God wants from me, as Gemara's Rosa said, is courage, determination, lucidity, courage even to lose. I know that many Christian discourses we hear out there associate a God with a gentleman who stands behind a counter negotiating graces, right? And giving to those who deserve it, to those who pay tithes, to those who do this, to those who do that, to those who do good deeds. In Jesus, we don't see this. Sometimes they transform Christianity into something else that doesn't even have Jesus at its origin anymore. In Jesus, what do we have? When he has his rich friends, that party, the wedding at Cana, for example, it's when he goes to someone's house. He always says that. You have to know how to have. He teaches detachment to those who have and also to those who don't, because sometimes we naively think that attachment is only necessary for the rich, right? Sometimes, in my condition as a poor person, I cling to my poverty and transform it into a way of getting attention from others and wanting their attention all the time. I deal with this in myself too, all my indigence, not just material. It's not me. I was once very poor materially. I know what that's like, even almost having nothing to eat at home, a very difficult phase in our lives. We ate taro rice. Everything was fine. It was painful. It is painful. I know what it's like not to have. And then today, I always do too. What it is to have, including the possibility of helping my family. The people I love, the people I don't know, but who I know need my help. So there are many ways to do it. The thing is to live this experience of knowing that which is within me, a reality to be transformed. Do I need it? Do I need to let go of what I have so that what I have doesn't have me, as I said in today's text, right? But I can also cling to what I don't have. Look how strange this seems contradictory, right? But I can also cling to what I don't have. Look how strange this seems contradictory, right? Sometimes I'm not envious of what the other has, and I live my whole life orbiting around this envy that I feel. So, what do I need to detach myself from what I don't have? What belongs to the other? I don't have what I want to have. To be like someone else? To have the visibility of someone else? No, I can't. I have to discover what I can have and build my story from what is possible. Even from what I don't have, I need to let go. Sometimes I live attached to what I don't have, what I would like to have and ask precious in my life, including, here you can put the loving relationships. That person you have an obsession with, they don't even know you exist. But are you obsessed with them? And do you imagine a life with them? Let go of that? With that person you would like to be friends with? And you? Flattery, 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 flattery. Flattery is a fool. Not at all interested in you. It's not a problem. Sympathy. It doesn't count. Who said everyone has to like us? Who invented the story that we need to be loved by everyone, which is also a need to let go? Let go of the pretense of being loved by everyone. Not just me. I won't be. Neither was Jesus. In Jesus. So I need to let go of the idea that that person needs to pay attention to me, that that person needs to listen to me, that that person needs to date me, that that person needs to marry me, right? We don't determine these things for the other. The encounter happens, and the parts are fulfilled. But I have to keep probing my life to realize what in my life is an attachment. What in my life is a reality that I would need to let go of? You know, there's a beautiful scene from the movie The Mission. I don't know if you've already seen it. They watched it. It has 11 beautiful soundtracks, which I even listen to whenever I can. The film is called The Mission. Item in the story: a man who commits a crime, and then he joins the company of Jesus. He will be a missionary, but as a way of punishing himself, he makes a material burden, constraining him with things that he hangs on his shoulders and walks with them. This mentality is not about punishing the body. What spiritually do we want to free ourselves? How do people see sense in this? Me? I have a little difficulty with this. I think God doesn't expect this of us, doesn't ask this of us. He asks for discipline of the body and to educate the spirit. Period. If it's something that he told me in another way, and it even gives me a certain vanity for doing it. It doesn't make sense. But that man carries that terrible burden on him and lives with it until the moment he finds himself in a situation of limits, climbing a waterfall, to be able to reach a place they needed to go. And that was weighing, and he went through that difficulty, that physical suffering, clearing his life within his heart. Then, suddenly, he looks at his companion, who is by his side. It's been a long time since I've seen him, who I haven't seen, right? But vaguely, it's like that. It seems to me that he's looking at someone who is walking the same path as him. And that look says to me, just the price. Isn't it yours anymore? And then he gives that scream, starts to cry. He opens his arms and the fate falls. I need to do this from time to time. What are we carrying around? Obsessions, false impressions, hatred. We need to let go of the eyes we feel. My God in heaven, My people, have been there for a long time, and I will adopt a stance that some people say is not me. One day I discovered that for me, the experience of Christianity would forbid me from proclaiming hatred wherever I go, even if I had reason to. How many times am I attacked by people who don't like me, right? They find a reason to stay. Yes, and sometimes even very cruelly. They make judgments. People who don't even know who I am. It's not living in what I have in public life. They accuse me of so many things, and I came to the conclusion that I wouldn't feed any kind of hate movement because I have millions of followers who like me. Have you ever imagined if I expose someone, no matter how much they hurt me, to the movement of followers who love me, which isn't always the case? It's a loving and charitable movement. I would be in a contradiction. So, of course, if I need to give an official response, I will do something. But responding to provoke hatred, someone who says something bad about me is not me or me. In most situations, I don't even see it. Because what is not something that matters to me doesn't arrive. Why would I feed within myself a feeling that will contaminate the good ones? Imagine that I am a factory of feelings. Am I really? I listen to a song and I get emotional. The feelings that come to the surface are good yesterday. For example, if they don't kissing because it's not enough, because it's not something that matters to me, why would I feed it inside me? A feeling that will contaminate the good ones. Imagine that I'm a factory of feelings. Am I really? I listen to a song. I get emotional. The feelings that come to the surface are good. Yesterday, for example, you have no idea how happy we were. We went to do a show in Alfina's, right? In fact, I even posted it beforehand. I didn't know I couldn't because it was a closed show. Celebration there at Unifina's. God willing, one day I'll come back to be a show open to everyone. And I knew that my friend Fabio Jr., and we became friends, would be there too. So that's what I did. I arranged with people I love, who are very close to me, to go there, spend the weekend in Alfina's, and we could meet up for my show, for Mass, and then for Fabio Jr.'s show. My God, what happiness we had there. It was so good, you know? I don't drink at all, do I? I don't drink a drop of alcohol. But I don't need alcohol to be happy and spontaneous. Music does that to me. It does. It takes me to a very pleasant place inside me. And there are people who take me to a very pleasant place inside me. Alicia, Tainam, Taninho, everyone who was there, Everson with his family, my band, which is now a treasure in my life. You can't imagine. The band I had until then, which we were on the road with for 10 years, are wonderful people who played a role in my story. I am eternally grateful to everyone who worked with me until then. But suddenly, at a time when I was feeling fragile, I was feeling alone. What I didn't have was a hand to hold, because it rekindled my desire to work with music again, but I was alone. Those who were with me until then had gone other ways, were doing other things. Mauricio, he had a nobility of soul. Mauricio Piesralo. Because at first we will have two bands, one band in the Northeast, and the other band here in the Southeast. The band in the Northeast is the one that is currently with me, and then the one that would always be with me. Then when Mauricio saw it, right, we did the first shows there in the Northeast. He told Alexander, who is a manager, that I speak for Priest. Stay calm, free to do the shows. What will there be in the South with a band from the Northeast? Mauricio never said that. Then I lost my place. No, Ali also discovered that that boy is great. When did he say to Alexander that it was no problem for him to let go? We have to let go, because if not in Hawaii, I let go of the role I had, because I love you. And are you going on in another way now with other people? It's not that. I said, despise what existed before, right? We open our hearts to receive what those who are here now, and that's how we move forward. I was saying, wasn't it? We have difficulty letting go of everything. We cling to people and situations, and this becomes a fact about us, because we have difficulty turning the page. We have difficulty giving ourselves a new opportunity. It's difficult, my people. I'm saying that it's easy for me, not difficult. Seeing the detachment, understanding. I don't need to be loved by everyone. Not everyone will want to be in my company. Not everyone will want my friendship. Not everyone will choose to walk by my side. Not everyone will like my music. Not everyone will want to read my books. Not everyone will want to participate in my celebrations. Not everyone will want to be with me at this moment. Participating in what I promote, it's all right. I need to let go of this pretension and of the many pretensions that are inherent to. I need to learn to lose. And look, I've already lost a lot in life if I don't learn, for God's sake. The day I lost my sister Heloisa, who died in a tragic accident, I thought, my God, I don't think I'll ever feel pain as poignant as this again. And now I'm talking to you, who also experienced this at some point in your life. When someone in your life died that you thought, I won't be able to bear it, or I had absolutely nothing even close to this pain, and you lost, and little by little, were you overcome? Little by little, you entered a new understanding. Little by little, you understood that it's part of, and that there is within we have some regions that only losses make us know. Little by little, you understand that if you let go and you leave the other party, I have a song. It is very little sung. I recorded it on the CD Filio Dusu, and I also recorded it now on the last one I did with Canção Nova. What is it? God takes care of me, right? I think I said, you leave more. Look for it, listen to it. Then it is called Necessary Losses. It was inspired by a book with the same name by an author called Judith Bioska. I did it with Canção Nova. What is it? God takes care of me. I think you leave one. Look for it, listen. Then it's called Necessary Losses. It was inspired by a book with the same name by an author called Judith and Ost, which I read. I wasn't even a priest. Necessary losses. Those natural processes require you to let go of your youth. There are people who aren't letting youth pass. Okay? Let's take care of ourselves with that gift. Let's do what you can do to stay younger, healthier. Physical activity, diet. We know that epigenetics is there to tell us all this. Genetics. That, S, strives to understand the genetic manifestation, what we have, with the stimulus of the gift of life. It's not a lifestyle stimulus. How does my lifestyle interfere with my time, with my genetics? Epigenetics studies the interference of lifestyle and genetics. Then I know that I have a propensity to have diseases. Cardiovascular. Okay? My father had it. My mother had it. My grandparents had it. I know I'm there with almost a 90% chance of having it. What am I going to do? Am I going to live in an appropriate way so that I don't stimulate the bomb that's inside me too early? Now, if I live lighting the fuse of the bomb, eating fatty foods, stuffing myself with sugar, not doing any movement with my body to exercise it, an aerobic exercise at a little run, a lap around the square, what will happen? Genetics will speak louder, and I will certainly develop. The cardiovascular problem? Lifestyle. It can give us up to 10 more years of life. The way we live can make it difficult to manifest what we genetically have. Does lifestyle save us, or does it also condemn us? Kill us? Do I need to let go? All the time for understanding. Because I need to let go of the time I no longer have, of this youth that is already past. I am already one young sir, and I enjoy the benefits of this time, of the maturity that age has brought me. But I cannot be an enemy of my age. I cannot be an enemy of my current state. My current state? It provides me with this. It makes things difficult for me here, and that's all right. I am welcome. I lose all the time. I've been losing since I entered this life. I had losses that I looked at and talk like this. I don't like to bear, and we endure. Yesterday, there in Alfina's for Christian, I went to the dressing room. She spoke to me. What about 9 years ago? Every single day she sings the chorus of that song I wrote for Adriana. When I came out, it hurt me when my past didn't pass by. When I didn't know how to understand life. Did you come to understand for me? When my eyes couldn't see. Your safe hand helped me walk when I no longer had love in my chest. Your love helped me love when my dreams, I saw them crumble. You brought me others to start over. When I forgot that I was someone in life, your love came to remind me that God loves me, that I am not alone, that God cares for me when he speaks through your voice. And tell me, there you go, Christian told me, because I lost my daughter in an accident. And 9 years ago, every single day I sing this song. It's because this chorus reminds me that God loves me, that he had courage. Will he help me get through a moment? It was worth making the song. It was worth Adriana suffering the emotional pain she suffered. Why was I so united with Adriana's pain at that time that I made a song for her? I made a pain, the song for my pain. No, I was there, in Bahia. I forgot the name of the city. The Malays Emilio has terrible diarrhea, feeling sick all day from food poisoning. And then, in that hotel room, in that solitude, at that time, we couldn't. Changing anything in the life that was planned wasn't very cruel. The organizers didn't have. There was no contract. Nothing. So you could be dying on the stage that you had, which was my situation that day. I needed to go home to come to hospital. I was there in the hotel room waiting for showtime. And then I remember that I wrote the song from start to finish, not from my loss, from my pain. I did it from Juliana's pain. Adriana's pain? It was the starting and finishing point for the construction of the lyrics of the melody. Human, love of God. So, all the time I'm losing and the people I love ask me, they're losing too. Sometimes we help each other. Sometimes we help each other. I need to lose. Do I need to learn how to lose? So that when I need to lose, I can shorten the recovery time a little. When I'm too attached, my mother has always been a lesson for me in this aspect, you know? Because my mother was a woman who loved a lot, but she never held anyone captive. My mother never learned, son, we're playing, there's a Christmas song. For the love of God, leave the Santa Claus hidden in time. I want to see his face, not for now. It's September already, dear Jesus. It seems like yesterday. I once had an outburst, me too. Sometimes we help each other. Sometimes we help each other. I need to lose. Do I need to learn how? So that when I need to lose, I can shorten the recovery time a little. When I'm too attached, my mother, for me, has always been a lesson in this aspect, you know? Because my mother was a woman who loved a lot, but she never arrested anyone. My mother never learned, son, we're playing a Christmas song. For God's sake, leave the Santa Claus hidden in time. I want to see his face, not for now. It's already September, Jesus Christ. It seems like yesterday. One time I had a Christmas freak out. I don't know if they ever have these freak outs. Going out to buy a Christmas tree? Well, I saw 11 guns at Jock's house, my friend. They're in Belo Horizonte. I had a Christmas freak out. And it just so happened that I had a trip to Orlando. We were going to have a show there. Some shows. Girl, I went into that Santa Claus store. There's a store there in that area. Christmas, which is open all year round and playing those Christmas songs all the time inside. I remember that was June, July, something like that. And I went. I was filling the carts, closing the carts. Suddenly, my friends, I had bought a tree almost 5 meters tall. And how did it get to Brazil? How did it get here? This is many years old, about 10 years ago. I don't remember how it arrived. I know we did it correctly. We paid the shipping company, paid all the taxes, and the tree arrived. My father, out of mercy, was there to put it up. You have no idea. We were all stunned. He started in the morning and continued until the end of the day. Tekka, poor thing, looked at it. It looked like she was going to be 111, a buy-in in Salguero, with so much glitter on her. Tanya, everyone was covered in glitter. Yes, I remember the house you went to that held a glitter stuck to everything, even a Santa's soy. I remember one day I found a glitter from here. Not even Our Lady, poor thing, escaped from the excess, from the brightness. And then I remember that there was that poverty. All that time, the beautiful bird looked like a beer tree. That beautiful tree that gave like this. I liked to look at it, but it seemed like it blew its brightness everywhere. Then, ready? Christmas was over. When did it come time to take it down? You have no idea? Another suffering? And then I never put up again, so leave Santa Claus alone there. I let go of the tree. I let go of the idea that there should be a Christmas tree. One thing also for us to finish something very necessary in our lives is for us to have more. Criteria for what we desire? I know that human life, it is impossible. Outside the drive of desire, right? We will not contradict what the science that understands us says about us. But also in Jesus' proposal, there is point 11, something that seems to touch on the issue of desire. Desire, it's extremely dangerous because my desire mobilizes us, right? It mobilizes us toward what is good, but it also mobilizes us toward what is bad. When I desire, all my positions are there. When I desire someone, when I desire something, when I desire a position, when I desire a job, and power has a lot of this, doesn't it? How dangerous it is for us to remain submissive to what we desire. Desire is fine. It's what keeps us alive. But be the master of your desire and not its servant. That sometimes you can override others. You can harm yourself because your desire is inverted. It's absolutely out of order. You who should command desire, you have a point there. I don't know. What do you call this we? It's not consciousness. Soul, spirit, superego. It has so many names. I think the multiple knowledges are interesting, right? How they all want to understand the same thing. How is it in our lives we can identify the management of desire? Who can order this desire? I am a Christian who believes in God. I say that the one who manages my desires is God, Himself, who is within me. The more clean I am of that which is evil, of bad things, the more access I have to the knowledge of the truth. Then my desire becomes in line with the truth. I begin to desire what truly concerns me, even with prior wisdom. It's not about predicting the future, but about having more or less an intuition of what that desire will actually provoke. Is it fair that I desire? Is it fair to spend energy on this desire? Or do I need to let go? As I was saying, let go of the obsessions we have with people, right? That we become addicted to people just like we become addicted to cocaine. The danger? I could talk to Ana Beatriz Barbosa. She told me this. People are as addictive as cocaine, marijuana, LSD, those bullets that people use to numb themselves, etc. Everything in us needs to be monitored. If not, we become uncontrolled. And is today's gospel clear? If I don't let go, I can't live discipleship. That's right, you say. But I'm not, as I was saying, letting go of our obsessions with people, right? That we become addicted to people like we become addicted to cocaine. The danger? I could talk to Beatriz Barbosa. She told me that. People are as addictive as cocaine, marijuana, LSD, those bullets that people use to numb themselves, etc. Everything within us needs to be monitored. If not, we become uncontrolled. And is today's gospel clear? If I don't let go, I can't live discipleship, right? Then you say, but I'm not a Christian. I don't want to be like Jesus. For you, you need to be faithful to yourself. I want to be a disciple of Jesus. I want to be very similar to him. I'm far away. I admire Jesus. I want to have the same feelings as him. I want to be a man without prejudice like he was. I want to be a loving man like he was. I want to be a peaceful man like he was, bringing the sword to the confrontation, looking into the eyes of those who need to take their place in my life and in hers. I want to be able to create the necessary division for what concerns me, what concerns the other. I want, then, to interest me, yes, to go through that process I once needed to go through, leaving my home, detaching myself from the geography of my childhood, to accept the world as my place. Each phase of my life, I lived in a place, so I learned to let go. Of course, I love this place where I am, the Paraíba Valley. I wouldn't trade it for anything. This corner of the world makes me very happy. But I know it's temporary. Everything is temporary. If by chance I would need to leave, let go, I need to be prepared for that. Why do I want to have this attitude? That today's gospel suggests to me. It suggests detachment, resignation, simplicity. I can't want to reconcile the Christianity of Jesus. There are many ways that are reconcilable. I cannot reconcile the Christianity of Jesus. With excesses, then even what I have. Can't you have me? What I have needs to be multiplied in the lives of others. Joys, Happiness Like Yesterday, that show by Fabio Jr., those songs that we know how to sing, all of which, those friends gathered together, and I with the clear perception that that moment was worth it, that I wouldn't trade it. Absolutely nothing or anyone. The exact people I wanted to be there were there. Of course, the others too, those you could bring in place, but they were there. I didn't lament. Who wasn't there? I looked at those who were with me, at those who chose to be with me, and it was very good that I lived it. And it's also over. It left a good record. I've already let go. I can't even cling to the joys. Imagine staying with that person forever. The footprint, what was it? To what it stopped being? No, it is this freedom that needs to characterize us as disciples of Jesus. Today we are here. I am in this position. I am in this role. I am happy. Very well. Thank you. But if tomorrow I need to change the course of all this, I need be prepared. And the mystique of detachment? It's what does this to us? It empowers us. It gives us the right to live, not just a quality life, to appreciate it, because life is giving us today. What's this, my people? Let's do it more often, shall we? They are, yes. There are people who are already reading the book, including me. I have the book here. Look, I think we can have a little chat about it this week. If you want, if you're willing. I was launched this week. How many mistakes that aren't mine? Sometimes we become here. We don't toughen up. Sometimes we give up who we should have been. Sometimes we live too much under. It's other people's expectations, isn't it? Sometimes we feel far from our essence. This book is a reflection on that. It touches a bit on neuroscience, not because it's important to know what scientists say about our ability to know who we are. It touches a bit on philosophy, psychology, and also spirituality. That's it, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your company. It was unannounced, without anything. We had so many people passing by. I hope our conversation was good. Did something good for you, because that's what we want. And all prose, isn't it? All prose needs to be constructive. Here, someone asked a question here that I found interesting. Look, what's the difference between detachment and disillusionment? In fact, disillusionment is a state of knowledge. It's not that it's when you put together the pieces of understanding, and you come to the conclusion that that reality doesn't exist, then you're disillusioned. If you say do, you say make the illusion. Detachment is a process that you will live later. Okay, I became disillusioned. I came to the conclusion that what I imagined does not correspond to the truth, and then you will live later the process of detachment, which is a kind of reconciliation with what it provoked in you, right? I often say that if you have to be disillusioned, convince yourself strongly once and for all, I need to. When I'm in a situation that doesn't belong to me, that doesn't concern me, I can't keep getting my hopes up. Some people are like that. Some are malicious. These are personalities that you need to be very careful with. For example, sometimes you're in love with someone. They don't want you. They don't care about you. But every now and then they give you a really heartfelt little thing. That little thread of hope. And then that keeps you from getting disillusioned. It's a person who somehow uses a certain malice to be able to end up having, right? An open window in your house so they can come in whenever they want. You want to stay. This happens a lot. These are people who have 11, an enormous ability to manipulate others without it causing a guilty conscience or discomfort. There are a lot of people like that. Emotionally, there are many sick people. They manipulate others with the forces of seduction. Oh, Robert Tinhomarkel, 1000 drummer, put dry land there, these people. We've been watching a lot of videos of Pastor Nadir, and she calls people here dry land, forked tongue. By the way, Pastor Nadir is an interesting person. She believes everything she says. She has a lot of conviction. You may not agree with her. I know she's become a laughingstock for many, but Pastor Nadir believes every word she says. She's not someone who says she doesn't believe, because a charlatan is someone who doesn't believe anything they say anymore. Okay, so the difference is this. I get disillusioned, and then I let go. It's no guarantee that things will happen that way. Is it? Am I going to experience disillusionment? And is it beneficial? and it's necessary to intensify the disillusionment. Sometimes we don't. When we don't intensify the disillusionment, there's a little bit of cord left, that sometimes you pull and bring all that stuff that should have already been buried to the surface. And can't you? You're disillusioned for good if later there's another reunion with that person, that it's in a different way, that it's based on reality and not on illusions, letting go of material or emotional possessions. Both detachments are necessary. And it's interesting because it gives the impression that letting go of material possessions means you're going to throw everything away, that you're going to sell everything and have nothing left. No, unless that's an option too. It's not a problem for you to do that. Look, I want to live with less. There are too many things that give me problems, and I want to share some of it while I'm still alive with those who need it. This will be my life motto. I want to do this. I want to leave the people I love. Well, I don't wait until I die to do this. No. So, detaching from material possessions means detaching yourself from the meaning that matter has, and that imprisons. It's understanding matter as an instrument to provoke joy, to provoke solidarity, to provoke love, and not to cause it, as states of satisfaction. It's amazing how material possessions are often used these days to promote self-image. Many people have things because they want to have them, because they need to have them, because they think their worth as a person is closely linked to having them. So, it's not enough to have a comfortable sofa. I have to take a picture of the sofa. I have to publish it. I have to show as many people as possible that I have a sofa I need to put on a billboard. It's a beautiful white sofa in this living room. And I need to advertise what I have, because when I advertise what I have in some way, it alleviates the lack I feel, the feeling of how do you call this inferiority, that coffee. So it is very dangerous when I instrumentalize matter and transform it almost into a form of validation of who I am. No, for the love of God, what we have materially, the result of our work, that is not the result of theft, deception, injustice, corruption, the result of your work. You worked for. So do you think God does not bless the result of your work? For the love of God, God blesses everything. What do we put before his eyes? And he will teach us to have. That's why, when I do the exercise, it's to understand the value of what I have. That the one I have doesn't imprison me, he frees me. Now, when I don't understand the value of what I have, he imprisons me, and it's difficult. I'll know how to enjoy what he has. So, fruit of our work. What you built throughout your life can be the simplest house. It came from the world, my people, if it is a result of your work, right? Do you think God isn't blessing this? Or it could be a beautiful house that your money gave. Transform your beautiful house into a place of joy. Show less to others. Enjoy more with the people you love. I am, increasingly convinced that this culture of image, right, that we are in understand the value of what I have, doesn't that which I have imprison me? It frees me. Now, when I don't understand the value of what I have, it imprisons me, and it's difficult. I'll know how to enjoy what I have. So, the fruit of our labor, what you built throughout your life, could be the simplest house. It came from the world, my people, if it's a result of your work, right? Do you think God isn't blessing this? Or it could be a beautiful house that he gave you your money. Transform your beautiful home into a place of joy. Show less to others. Enjoy it more with the people you love. I'm like that, Increasingly convinced that this culture of image, where we're so public all the time, is a path of no return. That's good too. Look, we're here at almost midnight. Almost midnight, chatting. If it weren't for the internet, we wouldn't have this. I'd have to be there on the program, Spiritual Direction. I even think I'm going to propose that we can't do one a month anymore. All this sent, tell me one more. We talked every Wednesday. Remember, it was almost 15 years. So, the internet gave us this. But it also gave us a lot of futility. It provides and encourages this. And we fall like a duck. We fall like a duck for what we think is important to show. Is it important for the other to know? No, we have a serious problem of taking the meaning out of things. Charity, for example. Do I do charity because it is of value in itself? Or do I do charity because it gives me visibility? What do I need? to show everything good that I do. I film everything beautiful that I do for others. 1. For a danger. I don't want to make judgments. For God's sake, everyone knows their own. I didn't choose to do it, and when I publicize charity, I try to publicize others, because I am very afraid of the incense of vanity. I am already too vain to look for other things. And when I say that I am too vain, it is because of what you know about me. Thank you, AAA, for everything that I understand. I don't feel I have a right to feel better than anyone, but no one at all, my people. I've said many things, black woman, about belittling the pain of others, about thinking that it's not today, because I'm in a different phase of my life, and I thank God for it. God forbid I think I'm better than anyone, right? That's not a place for priests. But what are you doing with those people? They're not. I'm not better than them. Why can't I settle down? Then I'll go. Jesus experienced the same thing, the same problem. Sometimes my friends come to me, right? How do you have the courage to be friends with this guy? Because of that, he should not have the courage to be my friend. When someone says something bad about me in an entire email, right? Oh my God, she thinks that of me. Then the voice of wisdom comes and talks to me like that. She doesn't even know half of her powers. Leave it, she thinks, or let it bother her. It's true. When someone speaks badly of me, I'm gone. She knows almost nothing. If I could tell her how many bad things I've done in my life. Is that how it works? One day I read somewhere that you need to share what is good to encourage others. And it made perfect sense. Just be careful that this doesn't become the reason for charity. For someone to praise? I'm saying that this is my choice. It doesn't have to be yours. But I think that when you discover the good, what is happening in the world, share it with others, because you run the risk of turning your charity into vanity. That's what's dangerous. It's very dangerous. When I turn my charity into a billboard, do I run the risk of losing much of the benefits it brought me? Now, when I see Grandma Tutu's charity, for example, which is there in Brasilandia, that poor community in Sao Paulo, making bread for crowd, is she poor? Giving perhaps the only food for those families. Then I went. I'll vote for all the elderly people I can. I'll give her all the visibility in the world. But I think Grandma Tutu, when she doesn't feel the need to do that, feels the need to ask for help. But she doesn't feel like that, does she? Is it dangerous? Isn't it? It's a difficult path. Life is very dangerous, my people, and there's no ready-made formula, you know? If you don't want to believe anything I said, that's okay too. You'll build your own truth. I'm here sharing what I believe. I'm sharing with you a situation that made sense to me. Now you live differently. You have a different understanding. Perhaps it's okay for you to promote your charity. I still think I prefer to promote the quality of others. I prefer to promote the work of Mary. Here, look at the beautiful work they do in Africa. What beautiful work of evangelization. Look at the beautiful work that Canção Nova does. But you pay, sharing a situation that made sense to me. Now you live differently. You have a different understanding. Perhaps it's okay for you to promote your charity. I still think I prefer to promote the quality of others. I prefer to showcase Mary's work. Here, look at the beautiful work they do in Africa. What beautiful work of evangelization. Look at the beautiful work that Canção Nova does. But yeah, you pay. I'm doing what I need to do. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care. Putting it in the showcase, because it doesn't make sense to me. Does it make sense to you? Is everything okay? That's how we do it, my people. Truth is a construction, right? Truth is a journey. There are many roads. You know that path that has many stories? Is it like that? How good is it? Would it be to live with you and be able to listen to you and learn? Oh, my daughter, but I am too. Full of flaws, but I don't think it is. It's a problem that we have flaws. Not everyone has them. I have a commitment to. What did I say to myself? Darling? I showed it by the names, right? It's just that you talk a lot. Thank God. So you can't see it clearly. I say the following. I have a commitment to be an increasingly lighter person for those around me. I want that. For me, it's a commitment. Here, of course, I don't always succeed. Why do I say this to you, my people? Because I was once very heavy. I know, I know how much I weighed on the lives of the people who were around me, because I wasn't cured. I'm not cured today, but less sick than before. Emotionally healthier? When we become too heavy for others, we are 10 times worse for ourselves. Isn't it worse? Do you agree with me? When you are a burden to others, aren't you much heavier to yourself? I think so. I am a burden to others. You can be sure that I am 10 times more of a burden to myself. Why? That I am the one living with myself? Or do you think that my burden is only a burden to others? No, my burden weighs much more heavily on me. Because for others, imagine if I cause harm to others, the harm I cause every month. Just because emotional weight is energy, emotional weight is a discharge of hormones within you all the time. It is the illness of the body caused by the mental state. In other words, again, how do I become intoxicated? With my burdens? Habit and practice help in detachment. Marcelo, okay? Ask me. Marcelo, my dear, everything in us is habit. Everything needs to be habitual. Do you know why? Because that's where the term habit comes from. The priest's cassock, the nun's clothing, to remind us that the surrender needs to be habitual. So, there was an external symbol to indicate an internal symbol that is also no guarantee. The habit does not make the monk. It's not a bit of our popular, but everything within us. Marcelo, when you choose to live in a process of growth, you will have to practice daily discipline. You will have to practice daily discipline. So, if I want to live detachment, I will have to have a routine that includes practices of detachment. If it's a material detachment, then, for example, today I will open my closet, which is full of things I haven't worn in many years. But why don't you donate? It's the most practical question. And if only practical questions could be answered in a practical way. Not everything is so practical. Not everything is practical. Not everything is zero. Is that how they say it? Did you forget the expression? Many things, so I need to do it. My experience of detachment. So, okay, I'll look and I'll contradict myself when I say this. But what if I only have one occasion to wear something? I won't. If I haven't had one in over 23 years, I won't have another occasion. And the clothes that are left in my closet, are they missing from someone else's closet? So it's like that with little things. What if? And look, people, detachment isn't reality only for those who have a lot. No, we can let go half a dozen. Or rather, we can get attached, jealously sick mind. There are half a dozen. Just as I can also get attached to millions, social media. For example, we need to let go of likes. Let go. Post something that is important to you. Don't be afraid of invalidating what was important to you, because only 4 people liked it. Father Fabio, how can we not absorb the malice of others when they offend us? Look, I have a technique. What is it? It has worked for me when someone offends me. Of course, I can't avoid the first impact of the offense. The first impact of the offense is involuntary. I didn't choose. Now, the second, third, the voluntariness is decreasing. The involuntariness is decreasing. Sorry. The first impact I can't choose. She offended me, and immediately that offense. It causes discharge? Emotional, huh? Then later, in an exercise of will, he said, does it make sense for me to be offended? It does. I don't have anything of what that person said. Then suddenly I say no, but she is a little her emotional in me. Then later, when I exercise my desire to speak, does my file make sense? It does. I don't have anything that person said. Then suddenly I say, no, but she is a little. She's right. She saw. Did you notice? She had no right to say it because she doesn't know me. I didn't ask for her opinion. People are inelegant. They say it, even when their opinion wasn't asked for. She's not part of my life. She functions almost like a raider in my life because she doesn't like me, but at the same time she likes me. Why should I pay attention to her? Okay, but what she says makes sense. She's a little right. She is. Okay, so why would I be so offended? It's that old story. Folks, when you discover that you have many flaws and you come to terms with them, what happens? You begin to understand that not everything can offend you, because much of what others say is intimately linked to your truth. It's just that you don't like to hear it. But why is it easier to be offended by what you don't like to hear, and to give some reason to one who is saying it and use what the other person said as a path you can follow to try to correct a little of what they accused? Then even the enemy can have a positive role in your life. Even the enemy can contribute to your growth. Nothing, right? Because enmity is when you accept a bond. I don't even know them. I have no bond. So don't even be an enemy. She is nothing. But it could be that an opinion from someone who is nothing in your life. Can I make sense of it to you? So the offense. Let's recap the first. The first result of the offense is involuntary. There is no choice. It happens. It invades me. I feel it. Then the second movement can be more voluntary. I can choose to feel. It's that moment when you analyze, that you do a reflection on what was said, and you will come to understand if what she says has reason to offend you or not. Honestly, most of the time, my people, it doesn't make sense to be offended, because we are all the same. Our defects are very similar. And that defect that she is accusing you of, because she sees it in herself all the time too. It's just that we don't have the courage to say it. We don't have the courage to say it. When someone calls you a hypocrite, do they recognize hypocrisy in themselves too? Or do you think they are a saint? What do? All right, you have to look at the person who offends you as someone magnificent and perfect. Nothing. Everyone is the same. Everyone is the same. Stop this nonsense of thinking you're worse than others. You may have personality quirks that make things more difficult, but everyone keeps saying they want to, especially here today. It's not this thing of open comments. You're the same as opening up your living room and saying, "Look, come here and shout whatever you want." That's crazy. It's neurosis, people. Don't do that to others. Open up your living room and let everyone come in and shout whatever they want. Not that you have any respect for your home, but social media is a constantly open sauna. We're living with this. Where, Father, where the teachings of Jesus Christ. In your words, the quotes, "My dear, who is Samuel?" We started with the gospel. I don't know if you just arrived, but we talk about Jesus all the time. It's just that when we talk about Jesus, we talk about ourselves too. When we talk about ourselves, we talk about the sciences that understand us. The Bible can't be. It's decontextualized. Jesus' word is existentialist. So sometimes when you see me talking about human issues, I understand that religion makes sense to me like this. There are other priests who speak only of Jesus, only of the Bible, and you can follow them and everything will be fine. Sometimes it's not the other person who's wrong. It's us who are in the wrong place. Religious discourse. Samuel, we listen to when it resonates within us and isn't resonating with you. It's because my word is not for you. That's how life works, my son. Don't waste time with me. Go listen to another priest. Go listen to a priest who speaks of what you need to hear. My followers here are already accustomed to seeing me mix the word of God with life. I only know how to be a priest like this because I wanted, throughout my life, to find parts that spoke to me like this. I found them. Father Leo taught me to be a priest like this. So everything is fine. You not liking the way I express myself is no problem. What I can't do is pretend to be someone else just to please you. No, because God made me free to be who I am. When God called me Samuel, He called me with my qualities and my defects. When He invited me to be a priest, I accepted. I brought all my human baggage, my life, and as you go with others too, you will also find people who will not like your way of being. Your changed Samuel the Father, I accepted. I brought all my human baggage, my life, and that's how you are with others too. You'll also encounter people who won't like your way of being. Change. Samuel, if you think the other person has a point. Only change. Samuel, if you think the other person is saying something that makes sense to you. If not, my friend, turn the page. Is that how it works? Yes, it was your way of being that brought me to you. That's great. I'm very happy. I'm very happy because I think that's life. Is it religious? At first, It requires identification with the preacher. But if the preacher doesn't introduce you to Jesus later, be careful. Don't stay, because they might want you to stay with him, stuck to him to do what he proposes. No preacher needs to be temporary. I have definitive responsibilities. I preside over Mass. I hear confessions, so none of this will change. And can I offer this to you? But when you come and trust me, you don't stand before God. Am I wronging you? Or are you wronging me? You can't stop with me. My passage through your life needs to be to place you before God. And it's not a God that is outside of you. It's a God that is within you. It's an experience. That places you before the sacred. That is within you. So the preacher, the religious leader who traps people in himself, is he making a terrible mistake? He may not be trying to make a mistake, but that's when he traps people in himself. This is very bad. Father, what non-Christian religion do you think of? What do you find interesting? Look, today we talked a lot about detachment. Detachment is a practice common to all religions, and although it's not considered religion, it's more of a philosophy, Buddhism. Yes, it teaches the practice of detachment a lot. It has a lot to do with it. In the dimension of detachment, it has a lot to do with Christianity. So, Christianity, when it proposes detachment to us, is it proposing a freedom from everything we can have and be? Did Buddhism preach that? Those practices, right? Relaxation techniques, the practice of yoga, and everything that's part of that whole, right? From Eastern Buddhist philosophy. It's precisely to help human beings detach themselves from matter and reach the spiritual life. We Christians have some disadvantages because we often have an excessively materialistic religion, and we need to have it. The spiritual life is very present because it makes no sense to have a religion and it wouldn't be spiritual, right? So spirituality is the breath that keeps us standing upright in the face of life, in the face of problems, in the face of situations. So all of this is important. I have a religious stance that is also spiritual, which sometimes isn't guaranteed. I'm religious, but I'm not spiritual. And so is your spiritual life. But I'm not religious. Sometimes there are people who have an intense religious life, but they have no spirituality at all. Sometimes you meet someone who has a little religious life, but has already evolved so much. They have already reached such a noble understanding of things, of people, of their own condition. Nana, it's already clear, halfway there, much more than we sometimes do who are religious and struggle, to be able to learn something. So what are you going to say? But how do you explain that? There's no explanation. God gives, God takes away, God does, God happens. And it could be that that person has had situations in life that they knew. It's about living well and understanding, isn't it? That allowed them to move forward and grow. Grow a lot as a person. Soul is live. I don't know. It's possible to save a life that's almost 2 hours long. If it's possible, I will. Then you guys can, but I think that's wrong. We need to talk more often, right? It costs nothing. If you're willing to be here, live like this. I'm sure you'd be willing to be at a more comfortable time, so we can talk from time to time. It's good for me too, my friends. Write something. I don't tell you anything I don't need to hear. I never want to be someone who keeps telling others. Cake formulas he's never made, recipes he's never tried. If I'm telling you something, it's because I truly believe it and it makes sense to me. You can see that I don't care about having a lot of opinions about everything, which sometimes I don't even feel qualified to do. So, in what is specific to my life, I am a priest in everything I do in my life, from the book I write, to the songs I compose, the lectures I give, even if it is in the corporate world. The knowledge that my faculties gave me, I always do everything, so that it is something that I actually believe. And what would I say to myself? So, what I say to you is because I say to myself every single day, I am a fragile man. I have defects, many defects. I make mistakes in points that I try to correct. I continue to make mistakes in the same way. But the assistant, one day I discover that I always do everything to make it something that I truly believe. And what would I say to myself? So, what I say to you is because I say it to myself every single day. I am a fragile man. I have defects, many defects, mistakes and points that time will correct. I continue to make mistakes in the same way. But the assistant, one day I discover that God is not a privilege of the saints. He is a right of sinners. I admit myself a sinner. It is not with shame. I do not admit myself because that is my condition. I do not need to keep saying what my sins are, but I know what my sins are. I tell whoever I want. Yes, I trust. I need a vent. I do not think that telling my sins publicly can save us from anything. Sometimes it can even trivialize the experience itself. I am not afraid of them either. They are mine. I try to overcome them day by day, right? And that is it. Thank you very much for your company, you know? Thank you very much. And we have. In fact, on September 6th, we're going to have a live stream. I think it's raining, that's the time, with my dear Marcos Montenegro. If you want to watch, Marcos is one of the great agents of artists in Brazil. He works with. Does he work a lot? The Artist Training wrote a book about it, and we'll have it at 8 o'clock p.m. on September 6th. Okay, if anything happens, we'll come back here to talk a little more. Thank you, everyone. May you have what we have, right? A blessed week, a week of much quality. We have a week of light, of peace. May you bring peace wherever you go. The world is in turmoil. People are very hateful. And if we join this movement, we'll get lost. Let's not be what the movement wants us to be. And we make a difference. Let's block hate wherever we can. Thank you, everyone. God bless you.